Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 3 of the Monday Q&A. First question. Glute work, namely the hip thrust added to my workout, since medically my hip doesn't allow very deep squats. Is this an acceptable option, or is there something better? Yeah, I would tell most people that if you can learn to squat correctly, that will be your best glute exercise, but in your case, you can't squat deep due to a hip issue, so finding alternatives is wise for you. Now the hip thrusts are fine. I also like glute bridges. For someone who really has a lot of trouble developing their glutes properly, doing some glute bridges with a barbell, or with chains, or with barbells plus chains, works very, very well. That will get the job done. Particularly for someone like you who has a hip mobility issue due to some previous injury or medical issue which makes a deep squatting impossible. If you can learn to do them correctly, a little bit of Googling will teach you the proper technique on it easy enough. Alright, next question. Forearms give out during back exercises such as lat pull-downs, T-bar rows, and dumbbell rows. Any suggestions besides the obvious, like strengthen forearms and use wrist straps? Really depends on what your goals are, but if you're a bodybuilder or even to some extent a strength athlete, if your grip is causing you to fail to be able to induce the workload you need on those primary movers, then you're going to have to strap up. Now, I would say you could try chalk first. Try chalk before you try straps. Get some liquid grip or something like that and see if that helps resolve your issue. For a lot of people, it might get the job done, and then you're still back to using your grip. So you're still getting grip stimulation. But if that doesn't work, you're going to have to go ahead and strap up. You don't really have a choice because you're shortchanging the primary movers. And then what I would recommend is that you do additional grip work behind that. And even a lot of powerlifters do that. They'll train with straps through most of the year on a lot of their lifts, and they will do extra grip work every single day. You can do tons of stuff. Don't worry about forearm exercises, worry about grip exercises. They're not the same thing. Wrist curls won't do much for your grip, believe it or not. Just bring up your forearm size. But I like Captain of Crush grippers, which I actually keep one in my office right here. Barbell holds. Even doing some lightweight shrugs with 50% of your shrug max to failure until you can't hold on to the bar anymore can be pretty effective. Do chin-up bar holds, like even the parallel grip ones, grab them and hold them as long as you can. Farmer's walks, anything like that. You need to be doing extra grip work in the meantime, but if you've got to chalk up, then chalking is obviously the first choice. Strap up if you have to, but make sure that you're doing extra grip work on top of it. All right, next question. What dictates whether I should high bar or low bar squat? Been doing high bar for 4 months now and would like to try a low bar to see if I like it better. It really depends on what your goals are. You didn't tell me what you are. If you're a bodybuilder, you need to be doing high bar. Unless you're using it to bring up your glutes, your hips, and your hamstrings, and then you could do low bar. But if you're trying to bring your quads up, you need to be doing regular high bar style squatting. Case in point, there are some people who compete in both bodybuilding and powerlifting out there, I won't name any names, who do excessive low bar squatting to the point where I would red light them at a meet when they're at meets that have terrible quad development. So when you do that excessive low bar, you're going to have lagging quads. It is purely for powerlifting purposes. Now, if you're an actual athlete, whether it's a powerlifter or a rugby player, American football player, you're using it for performance or to hit better numbers, you very well might need to go to a low bar. A lot of powerlifters, even if they're not structurally built ideally for low bar, go with the low bar because they still generate slightly better numbers. So if you're a powerlifter, you use whatever one gives you the best in the lifts. But there are some record-holding squat holders who still use a high bar or Olympic style squatting, so it really varies. Now, if you're going equipped, you're going to have to do low bar. But if, say, you're a rugby player, football player, even an MMA guy, something like that, doesn't matter. Anyone who needs explosive power, whether you go high bar or low bar, I'm going to say is going to depend on your structure. If you have really long femurs, long legs, you're probably going to do better with a low bar, particularly guys who are well over 6 foot. They simply recruit more muscle fibers, they develop more power doing the low bar squat. So that's probably what you're going to want to do in that case, just depending upon your structure. But for those guys, if you've got shorter femurs like I do, you still might end up sticking with the high bar for your goals. So without really knowing what your goals are and what your structure looks like, it's kind of hard to prescribe that. So I just threw you out a few just general guidelines to look at. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you in part 4.